June 8th, 2026. Ellington Field, Houston, Texas. 10:50 in the morning. A ground crew stands back. An engine starts churning. Smoke rolls off the exhaust, and then a sound nobody in America has heard from this airframe in 7 years cracks across the runway. It's an F-4 Phantom, the most feared fighter of the Vietnam War, the jet they called Old Smokey. The jet pilots joked could fly because the engines were powerful enough to make a brick airborne. And right now, on planet Earth, there is exactly one of them left that can do this. Not one in America, not one in the Air Force, one total. Anywhere. This is the story of how it almost didn't happen. Twice. Before we dive into this topic, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel to support us. Let's get started. The legend. Between 1958 and 1981, McDonnell Douglas built 5,195 Phantoms. No American jet has ever been produced in those numbers since. It flew for the Navy, it flew for the Marines, it flew for the Air Force, and for a dozen foreign air forces after that. Pilots loved to hate it. Too heavy, too thirsty, ugly enough that crews nicknamed it the Flying Brick. But strap two enormous engines to a brick and it stops being a joke. Over Vietnam, the Phantom became the platform that did almost everything. Interceptor, bomber, reconnaissance jet, McKiller. This particular Phantom carries the paint of one of its most famous missions. It wears the colors of 66-7680, the aircraft flown by ace pilot Robin Olds during Operation Bolo, the operation that tricked North Vietnamese MiGs into a trap using F-4s disguised as bombers. One kill star, one legend. Tainted onto a jet that, until very recently, hadn't moved under its own power in years. The Boneyard. But the airframe underneath that paint has its own story, and it starts somewhere far less glamorous than a Vietnam dogfight. This particular jet rolled off the line in 1965 as 65-0749, built for the US Air Force. It served its time, it got old, and like almost every Phantom that ever wore a USAF tail number, it was eventually pulled from service and sent to die slowly at Davis-Monthan Air Force Base, Arizona, the Boneyard. Thousands of airframes baking under the desert sun for years on end, sometimes decades. Seals dry out, metal fatigues, wiring degrades in heat. Most aircraft were never designed to sit in. Most became scrap or static museum displays or targets. This one was different because a small non-profit called the Collings Foundation decided it wasn't going to let that happen. An act of Congress. Here's the part most aviation channels skip because it sounds boring on paper. It isn't. You cannot simply buy a supersonic fighter jet and fly it. Federal law treats ex-military combat aircraft like the Phantom completely differently from a vintage Mustang or a Spitfire. Civilians flying actual frontline jet fighters was for decades essentially off the table. So the Collings Foundation did something almost no Warbird operator in America has ever had to do. They pushed for an actual amendment to the National Defense Authorization Act in 1999, specifically to clear the legal path for this one aircraft to fly in private hands. Think about that. It took an act of the United States Congress to let this jet exist as a flying civilian aircraft at all. Even after that legal fight, the real work was just starting. Zero-time engines had to be sourced and installed. Ejection seats, not exactly something you order from a catalog, had to be tracked down. Cockpit avionics, hydraulic systems, structural inspections, thousands of hours of restoration before this airframe was trusted to leave the ground again. In August of 1999, it finally did. Down again and again. You'd think that's where the story ends. A happy ending, jet saved, roll credits. It isn't. Because flying a Phantom isn't like flying a Cessna at your local airfield. Fuel burn, maintenance, spare parts for an airframe the military itself stopped using. Every flight hour costs a fortune. So the Collins Foundation flew it sparingly, a few air shows a year, just enough to keep it alive, keep it current, keep the legend visible. Then, in 2011, she was grounded again for major maintenance. She came back in 2017, flown by former USAF Phantom pilot Harry D-Day, the same man who would, years later, be the one to bring it home a second time. Because she went down again, 7 more years of silence, 7 more years of volunteers, the ones who jokingly call themselves the Phantom Phixers, not scavenging parts from decades-old airframes, chasing down components nobody manufactures anymore, fighting a jet engine's worth of entropy with nothing but donated time, and on June 8, 2026, they strapped back into the same jet with crew member Gerard Floor in the back seat as weapons systems officer. He took it up one more time, 3 landings, 2 minor write-ups, and 1 airplane that, after 7 years of silence, was flying again. The last Rhino. Here's the number that turns this from a cool Warbird story into something bigger. In December of 2016, the US Air Force shut down its F-4 program, the last operational use of Phantoms anywhere in American military service, flying as remote-controlled aerial targets. After that date, by most accounts, every single Phantom in the United States stopped flying. Permanently. Every single one except this one. That means when those engines lit up at Ellington Field on June 8th, it wasn't just a test flight for a volunteer museum. It was, very likely, the last operational F-4 Phantom in the entire United States, proving it could still take to the sky. It's not finished either. The Collins Foundation has it booked for the Wings Over Houston Air Show this October. And there's talk of something rare even by Phantom standards, a planned formation flight alongside an F-100 Super Sabre and a MiG-17. A Vietnam-era reunion in the sky, 60 years late. It's also time for a reason that matters beyond aviation circles. 2026 is America's 250th anniversary. And the people behind this restoration wanted one of the loudest, most recognizable sounds of the Cold War in the air to market. People throw around the phrase, legends never die, a lot online. Usually it's just a caption under some old footage. This one's different, because in this case, it's literally true and it almost wasn't. It took an act of Congress, 30 years of volunteer labor, 2 separate 7-year groundings, and 1 pilot who kept coming back decades apart to make sure of it. Somewhere in a hangar in Texas, a small team of people refused to let 1 airplane disappear twice. And because of that, the sound of the Phantom's afterburner still exists in 2026. Not in a museum, not in a simulator, in the sky where it belongs. If this kept you watching this long, you know what to do. Like it, subscribe, and hit the bell. Until the next time, clear skies.
Here you go, D-Day. You look like you could use this. Thanks.